Maya's hands trembled as she smoothed down her 3-year-old twins' matching navy blue outfits one last time. The cheap fabric wrinkled easily, but it was the best she could afford on her waitress salary. Emma and Ethan squirmed in their stroller, their bright eyes taking in the opulent surroundings of the Ritz-Carlton's marble lobby. She had never felt more out of place in her life. "We don't belong here," she whispered to herself, fighting back tears that threatened to smudge her carefully applied drugstore mascara. But her college roommate Sarah had insisted Maya attend her wedding, even offering to pay for the twins' outfits. After 3 years of struggling alone, working double shifts just to keep their tiny apartment, Maya had finally accepted one act of kindness. She couldn't have known that this single decision would change everything. Maya checked the invitation again, her stomach churning with anxiety. The Henderson Mitchell wedding, Grand Ballroom, 3 p.m. She was already 20 minutes late after getting lost in the hotel's maze of corridors. The twins had been fussy all morning, sensing her nervousness, and Emma had spit up on her only decent dress, forcing Maya to change into her black work uniform, the closest thing to formal wear she owned. Following the sound of a string quartet, Maya pushed the stroller toward what she hoped was the right ballroom. The double doors stood open, revealing a breathtaking scene of white roses and crystal chandeliers. Guests in designer gowns and tailored suits filled elegant gold chairs. Maya's breath caught. This was far more extravagant than anything Sarah could afford, but maybe her fiancé copyright came from money. She found an empty seat in the back row just as the music swelled. The officiant began speaking, and Maya bounced Ethan gently on her knee while Emma played with a small toy. She tried to spot Sarah among the bridesmaids, but the distance made it difficult to see clearly. "Do you, Alexander Blackwood, take this woman to be your lawfully wedded wife?" Maya's blood ran cold. Alexander Blackwood? That wasn't Sarah's fiancé copyright's name. Her heart hammered as reality crashed over her. She was at the wrong wedding. She had somehow stumbled into what appeared to be the social event of the season, judging by the sea of designer clothing and the photographer capturing every moment. Before she could quietly slip out, Emma chose that moment to let out a delighted shriek, throwing her toy toward the aisle. The small stuffed elephant landed with a soft thud near the altar, and every head in the room turned toward Maya and the twins. But it was the groom's reaction that stopped time itself. Alexander Blackwood, CEO of Blackwood Industries and one of America's youngest billionaires, stood frozen at the altar. His face had gone completely white, his dark eyes fixed not on the toy, but on the two small children in Maya's arms. The bride turned to see what had captured her groom's attention, her perfectly sculpted features twisting with confusion and growing anger. Maya felt the weight of 300 pairs of eyes on her. Heat flooded her cheeks as she fumbled with the stroller brake, desperate to escape. But Alexander's voice cut through the stunned silence. "Stop." The single word carried such authority that even Maya found herself paralyzed. Alexander took a step toward her, then another, his Italian leather shoes clicking against the marble floor. The bride grabbed his arm. "Alex, what are you doing? Who is this woman?" But Alexander's gaze never left the twins. Emma and Ethan stared back at him with identical dark eyes, the same eyes that looked back at him from the mirror every morning. The same strong jaw, the same distinctive cleft in their chins. There was no mistaking it. "How old are they?" His voice was barely a whisper, but in the cathedral silence of the ballroom, everyone heard. Maya's voice failed her. She clutched the twins closer, their warm weight the only thing keeping her grounded as her world tilted off its axis. "I asked you a question." Alexander's tone was gentler now, but insistent. "3, Maya managed to croak out. "They're 3. The math was simple, brutal, and undeniable. Alexander's mind raced back 4 years to that weekend conference in Chicago, to the brilliant economics graduate student who had challenged his keynote speech with thoughtful questions. Maya Richardson. He remembered her intelligence, her passion for social justice, her warm laugh. He remembered the night they spent talking until dawn, the connection that had felt more real than anything in his carefully orchestrated life. He also remembered leaving for London the next morning for a 6-month merger deal, getting caught up in the whirlwind of business and eventually meeting Veronica at a charity gala. By the time he tried to find Maya again, She had vanished from the university, leaving no forwarding address. "Ma-ya," he said her name like a prayer. The bride Veronica let out a sound somewhere between a gasp and a growl. "You know her, Alexander? What is the meaning of this?" Ma-ya found her voice and her feet simultaneously. "I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. This is a mistake. I was looking for the Henderson-Mitchell wedding. I didn't mean to interrupt your They're mine, aren't they?" Alexander's words cut through her apology. The question hung in the air like a guillotine blade. Ma-ya looked at this man she had thought about every day for 4 years, this man she had tried to contact when she found out she was pregnant, only to be told by his assistant that Mr. Blackwood didn't take personal calls from strangers. She had been just another face in the crowd to him, or so she had believed. Ethan chose that moment to reach toward Alexander, making the soft cooing sounds he usually reserved for Ma-ya. Alexander's composure cracked completely. "Why didn't you tell me?" The pain in his voice was raw, unguarded. "I tried," Ma-ya whispered, tears finally spilling over. "I called your office, I sent emails, your people said you were in London, that you couldn't be disturbed for personal matters. I was just some grad student who had bothered the great Alexander Blackwood. When I never heard back, I assumed." "You assumed I didn't want to know." He ran his hands through his dark hair, disrupting the perfect wedding day styling. "God, Ma-ya, I never got those messages. I had my assistant screening everything while I was handling the merger. I thought you had decided our night meant nothing to you." Veronica's voice cut through their reunion like a blade. "I refuse to be humiliated like this. Alexander, we have 300 guests, a reception, photographers. Then I suggest you call it off," Alexander said quietly, never taking his eyes off the twins. "Because I can't marry you, Veronica. Not when my children are sitting 20 feet away." The ballroom erupted in whispers and gasps. Veronica's perfectly applied makeup began to run as tears of rage and humiliation streaked down her cheeks. "You're throwing away everything we've built together for some woman and her. My children," Alexander said firmly, "and the woman I never stopped thinking about." Ma-ya felt the world spinning around her. This couldn't be happening. Things like this didn't happen to single mothers working dead-end jobs, struggling to pay rent, shopping at thrift stores. This was a fairy tale, and her life had been anything but a fairy tale for the past 3 years. Alexander slowly approached, each step deliberate. When he was close enough to touch the stroller, he knelt down to the twins' eye level. Emma immediately reached for his tie, her tiny fingers grasping the silk. "Hello, beautiful girl," he said softly, "and hello, handsome boy." His voice broke slightly on the words. Ma-ya watched this powerful man, this billionaire who commanded boardrooms and influenced markets, completely undone by 2 3-year-olds in bargain store clothes. The tenderness in his expression, the immediate love she saw there, broke down the last of her defenses. "Their names are Emma and Ethan," she said quietly. "Emma was born first, by 3 minutes. She's the bossy one. Ethan is quieter, more thoughtful. They both love books and music, and they ask about their daddy every day." Alexander's eyes closed briefly, and when he opened them, they were bright with unshed tears. "I've missed 3 years of their lives. I know. I'm sorry, Ia. Number." He stood, facing her fully for the first time. I'm sorry you had to struggle alone. I'm sorry you thought I didn't want them. Didn't want you. I'm sorry for every night you stayed up worried about money, every time you had to choose between groceries and medicine, every moment you felt like you were failing them when you were doing everything right." Ma-ya broke down completely then, 3 years of exhaustion and fear and loneliness pouring out of her. Alexander didn't hesitate. He pulled her into his arms, careful not to disturb the twins, and held her while she sobbed against his chest. "We're going to fix this," he murmured into her hair. "All of it. I'm going to fix everything I can, and we're going to figure out the rest together. I can't let you feel obligated." Obligated? Alexander pulled back to look at her. "Ma-ya, I've been looking for you for 4 years. I hired private investigators. I contacted every economics program in the country. I thought I had lost the only real connection I'd ever felt with another person. Finding you here, finding them. This isn't obligation. This is a miracle." The ballroom was in chaos now. Veronica had stormed out, followed by her family and wedding party. Guests were streaming toward the exits, phones already out to spread the gossip. But in the eye of that storm, Alexander, Maya, and the twins existed in their own bubble of possibility. "What happens now?" Maya asked, overwhelmed by the magnitude of it all. Alexander looked down at Emma, who had managed to loosen his tie completely, and at Ethan, who was reaching for his father with both arms. "Now we start over, all of us, together." 6 months later, Maya stood in the garden of the home she now shared with Alexander and the twins, watching as he taught Ethan to throw a baseball while Emma insisted on her turn. The house was beautiful but not ostentatious. Alexander had let Maya choose it, understanding that she needed a home, not a showcase. The transition hadn't been without challenges. Learning to be a family, navigating the media attention, building trust after years of separation, it had all required patience and forgiveness from everyone involved. But watching Alexander read bedtime stories in silly voices, seeing him at every pediatrician appointment, witnessing the pure joy on his face when the twins called him daddy for the first time, Maya knew they had found their way to exactly where they belonged. Alexander caught her watching and walked over, grass stains on his designer jeans and pure contentment on his face. "Any regrets about the wrong wedding?" he asked, pulling her close. Maya laughed, the sound full of all the happiness she had never dared to dream possible. "Just one, that it took me so long to make that mistake." As Emma and Ethan ran toward them, demanding a group hug, Maya marveled at how sometimes the most beautiful destinations were reached by taking the wrong turn. Sometimes getting lost was the only way to find your way home.